2024 meeting of the Lancaster Township Zoning Hearing Board, and at this time I would ask Board Member Peggy Hall to read the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have two matters of new business. We first have a time extension request on behalf of A. Scott Good, has requested a one-year extension of time on a previously granted decision. The second matter, Jordan and Keandra Steffi from 1015 Marietta Avenue have applied for a special exception for a short-term rental at that same property.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. At this time I would ask Board Member Joseph Locurto to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Locurto. A draft of the minutes for the September 24, 2024 meeting has been submitted. Do I hear any revisions or supplementations to that draft? Hearing none, I would move that it be submitted and become a part of the permanent record of the board.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we learned earlier this evening that the Venerable Tom Daniels will be attending his last meeting tonight. And for those of us who know him, and for those of us who do not, Tom has been a truly outstanding zoning officer and code officer for Lancaster Township for quite a while. I mean, as long as I can remember.
15 years.
He has been reliable. He has been very active, aren't you? The chairman of the Pennsylvania
A
zoning.
little more local to the Lancaster County zoning officer, building
Okay.
code official.
But of that body.
Yeah.
And Tom has done just a stellar job.
Thank you.
For everybody around here that you'll talk to, I'm sure will confirm that. And this is just a short informal congratulations, but I know everybody here, Tom, extends you the very best, and we wish in whatever you are choosing to do heretofore.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I honestly appreciate that. The folks on the board have been great to work with over the years, and I extend you my gratitude as well. I assure you that we're in good hands with John.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Okay. So we could start out then, I guess, with the request for the extension that has been submitted on behalf of A. Scott Good. He's requesting a one-year extension of the time to obtain all necessary permits and approvals. Apparently the matter is in the land development and subdivision aspect of its journey at this point. My understanding is that the township does not have any objection to the request.
We do not.
Hearing that, is there anything else, Mr. Yoder, that?
No, it's a pretty standard request, and frankly, the land development process, depending on what you need to get in terms of permits, can take longer than what is anticipated. So it's not an unusual request to extend the zoning decision as long as they're making good progress and working diligently towards their land development approvals.
I would move that we grant the request for the extension that's been submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we will, I don't know if we need a written decision for that, or perhaps just a letter could be directed.
Yeah, the minutes would be
The
our,
minutes would be sufficient?
and we'll send them a letter, a formal letter stating so.
Very good. We will then move on to the second matter of new business, being the special exception of the Steffes of Marietta Avenue. And at this time, I would ask the zoning officer to establish the posting and service of the various required items under the statute. Mr. Yoder, perhaps you can
I will walk,
establish those.
yep, I'll walk through that. We've pre-marked a number of exhibits. The first one is zoning hearing board number 1. That's a copy of the application that was submitted. Zoning hearing board number 2 is the zoning notice that was prepared. Zoning hearing board number 3 is the proof of publication indicating that tonight's hearing was properly advertised in LMP. And then zoning hearing board number 4 is the verification of posting. So I'll have the zoning officer sworn in. If you want to stand up.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And can you state your name for the record?
John Donnelly,
And what's your position with the township?
the Assistant Zoning Officer.
Okay? And I'm going to show you what's been identified as zoning hearing board number 4. And is that proof of posting?
Yes, it is.
And can you state with a date that you posted the property?
November 15th, 2024 at approximately 11 a.m.
And the second page, is that a picture showing that the property was posted?
It is.
Okay. And in terms of the other types of posting on the township website, was that all done as required?
Yes, it was posted on the website. It was also.
That's fine, and neighbors were
Yes,
notified as well?
We mailed letters to neighbors advising of the.
Okay. And the last exhibit that is marked is zoning hearing board number 5, which was submitted, I think, after the fact. That is a floor plan that I'm assuming the applicant will go over as part of their presentation. Should I go over party status as well at this time?
I guess then at this point, if anybody would have any questions for the zoning officer, that would be the
Sure.
appropriate time.
Are there any questions for the zoning officer in terms of posting the property and publishing the notice?
I personally read the, first of all, my
Can
name
you
is
state your
James.
name?
My name is James Bubb, UBB, 318 Race Avenue. We abut a little bit apart from your property in the way back. And we are also located in Lancaster City and not in the township. But because of we abut, we are, just wanted to say something. I've read all the zoning information and, you know, it seems that the applicant has.
At this time,
Yeah.
there would be
Just-
questions
just
for the
questions
zoning
for the zoning
officer
officer.
Okay.
about the posting of the property. So if you want to wait and make a statement, you can do that later.
I think I'll wait and make a statement later.
Good.
Okay.
Let me just quickly go over party status. So if there's anyone here that's interested in just making a public comment, then we will give you the opportunity to do that. There's also another way to participate in a zoning proceeding. Obviously, the applicant is always what we call a party, and they'll present their case.
Yep.
But if there are folks that live nearby or have what we call standing, which means they have some interest greater than just the interest of the general public, you can request what's called party status, which gives you the right to present testimony and evidence, and also get a copy of the written decision, and also to take an appeal if you disagree with the decision. So party status provides you certain rights beyond just making comments. I believe the board allows questions even if you're not a party. So really, if you want to just ask questions and make a statement, you do not need to be a party. But if you want to get the legal right to potentially take an appeal if you disagree, then you need to request party status. Not everybody is entitled to party status. You have to show, like I said, that you have some interest that's greater than the general public. Typically, if you live right beside the property, you have standing.
Right.
The further away you get, it kind of depends on the use, whether you have standing. So at this point in time, is there anybody in the audience that would like to request party status?
No, thank you.
Okay. Let the record reflect that nobody requested party status. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So, I think I'll turn it over to the applicant,
I
or?
think all of those exhibits enumerated by Mr. Yoder and testified to by the zoning officer will be admitted to the record. And at this point, I believe the representative or the Steffies themselves would now be entitled to present their case.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate to approach?
So, yeah, and we'll have you sworn in before you start talking.
You'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning, board. My name is Kendra Steffi. I'm the owner, along with my husband, who could not be here present tonight at 1015 Marietta Avenue. While I am an attorney and a member of our bar, I'm here in my individual capacity as a homeowner of 1015 Marietta. We have applied for a special exception in order to, pursuant to sections 280, 403.I of the Township Zoning Ordinance for a short-term rental at our property. Looking at the regulations, I will go over, I know our application was submitted, which clearly outlines the special exception we're applying for. Nonetheless, just to give you a lay of the land, for lack of a better term, we do live in a home. However, our home has a carriage house, which sits above a garage. That carriage house is a has a two-bedroom apartment on top of it. So there's two bedrooms in there. We do reside on the property. I reside there with my husband, Jordan Steffi. We have 3 children. We have a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 11-month-old who will be 1 year old in like 2 weeks. So we do reside at our property. We're there all the time, like I said, and our kids are there as well. We have ample off-street parking. I would say, I think I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 parking spaces that are off-street parking in our driveway. The property sits on 1 acre of land, so there's ample space and room that separates our property from abutting properties that surround our home. There is fencing that goes around that also separates our home from abutting properties. It sits back off of the street as well. So, really the reason for wanting to do this, if anybody's curious or if that matters, but we've been given the privilege of travel and going to other places here in the United States. We've stayed at multiple Airbnbs. I've taken my kids to Airbnbs. It's always provided a convenience. There's a reason why, after going away to undergrad and law school, and my husband having gotten his MBA in New York City, we've returned here to Lancaster. We love Lancaster. This is our home. This is where I was born. This is where I was raised. I'm a graduate of J.P. McCaskey High School. Why wouldn't I share what I have with others in order to allow them to come and experience the joy that we too get from here in Lancaster? So that's really the reasoning, why behind this. It's not something that we look to have rented every single night of the month. Again, this is a short-term rental, maybe a few nights out of the month to help others experience, again, the joy of Lancaster. So that's all that I have right now. We will not be serving any meals. We will certainly abide by check-in and check-out times. Again, I have kids, and I'm a full-time attorney. I'm in bed by certain times, so we'll make sure that we abide by those rules. And, obviously the outside activities of the property will be limited in accordance with the hours that are shown in the regulations. So I'm open for any questions from the board, if you have any for me at this time.
And Mr. Yoder, if you're going to go through some of the performance requirements under the statute?
Sure, I can ask a few questions, and then if the board has additional follow-ups or any of the folks in the audience. Just to confirm, you would not be running longer than 30 days?
Correct.
Okay. And the layout that was provided, again, confirming there's just 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and is this already improved? Is the carriage house, it's not like you're gonna create this?
Correct. It's already approved, done. It was done when we bought the property.
Okay, and everything's connected to public sewer, including the carriage house?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how you will advertise for guests to stay here?
Probably through some online platform. Not sure exactly which one quite yet, but probably through an online platform.
Will there be a limit as to the number of guests that can be there at a time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be more than 4.
Okay. And what about the number of vehicles?
Well, like I said, we do have 8 parking spaces, but, we would advertise probably at least 2.
Yeah, okay.
spaces.
You said you have 8 spaces.
How many
Yes.
do you use?
We use 2,
Use 2, so you would have 6 available?
yes. Yeah, I mean, if you have 2 in the garage, 2 outside of the garage, and then 2 on the side, that's 6 there, and then the 2 that my husband and I occupy.
And if I understand it correctly, the county has a hotel tax. Does that apply to short-term rentals? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe when you go through an online
I
platform,
think so. Dwight does, and there should be a certificate.
when you go through an online platform, that is, all the taxes and fees are already taken out based on your location. So,
Oh, I see. It looks like in your application there is a tax authorization. Okay. I believe the application, goes through, it's pretty basic. The ordinance essentially says 2 to 4 room rentals of an existing bedroom for less than 30 days. That's what's being requested. So I don't have any specific questions. Do board members have any
I
additional
have a
questions?
question too. Do you plan to be present at the property when it is being rented?
we do, and I believe that's a requirement of the regulations.
Okay.
Along with the 2 bedrooms, you also have the living room, dining room, kitchen goods with that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. The dining room, living room is kind of the same space, but
Okay.
yes.
I just have a quick question. It says the property registered with the Lancaster County Treasurer's Office for tax purposes, and you have no. Can you explain that to me?
So my husband filled out this application, if I might, can I see it really
Sure.
quickly?
He crossed out the yes,
Okay.
and then he put the no, so I don't. Okay, so I don't know if, I would.
We weren't quite sure if,
It certainly is registered with the treasurer's office for tax purposes. I
Okay.
mean, we pay property taxes, so.
the
Okay,
only thing we thought was maybe for the hotel tax, but it does appear that it has been registered, so.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm certain that it is,
Okay.
and I apologize that was
Sure.
filled out that way.
Sure.
But we're certainly registered with the tax office.
Any questions from the zoning officer? Sure. Okay. Anyone in the audience have a question for the applicant? Yes, sir, just state your name for the record again.
My name is James Bubb, UBB, 318 Race Avenue, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. My question to you is the management aspect. Do you plan to subcontract the management out? Or are you always going to be there? Because you've stated that you travel and you're not on site. What happens when you have the guests there on site?
So again, per the regulations, I need to be there as the owner on site when someone is going for the short term, or they're staying there. So we will be present.
Okay.
And right now, we do not have it managed, we're not sourcing this to any management
Okay.
company. We-
That's just, as a neighbor, my concern is that if you have a subcontractor who's managing it for you, it's really your responsibility, but the subcontractor may not have the same kind of
That's actually
dedication to
concerned.
the management aspect.
Nope, understood that, we have not.
Okay.
Yep, it's all us.
Hi, my name is Oscar Ramirez, 314 Race Avenue, right behind your backyard and next to them. I have a couple of questions. Mere curiosity, I'm learning. This is my first time learning all of this, so if something seems too obvious, just smile. I have a question pertaining to the time that was stated as for the rental. Is it like at a time, like within 30 days? How was that? I know I've stayed at many Airbnbs, and sometimes as I was getting, the previous people were leaving, and when I was leaving, the new ones were coming. So just for curiosity, how are you planning on managing the times for ins and outs?
I think one cannot stay for longer than 30 days. It doesn't matter how many come within that time frame of 30 days.
Oh, so that
So-
means that you could have like 4, 2, 3 days within a month,
Correct,
back to back.
Correct.
My other question is about the fencing. We share the fence, and I know that the previous owner made a little mistake. It's not a problem, not stating that here, but I think that the fence is within my property limits, which I have no problem whatsoever. But just wondering about that, and also in terms of the pool. Is there anything to be considered for the pool and fencing around the pool? I just want to understand that better.
Yeah. So, one, I just want to ask for relevance, the relevance of the fence to this application for a special exception. I don't think it's relevant.
Okay.
Number two, the pool is secured, or else we wouldn't have insurance on our home if it wasn't. So I believe that's fine, but then that's also a relevance question too. I don't think that's applicable to this. We do have a cover on our pool. It's an electric cover that covers the pool. I have young children. I would think that's a bigger concern than adults coming into the Airbnb. So trust me, if my pool wasn't secure, we wouldn't be offering this to the public, and certainly I wouldn't be living there with 3 young children.
I understand.
So I think that
Coming
that
from a
would
good
be.
place, I just want
No,
to learn.
I'm just letting you know that it wouldn't be, like, it's not an issue, I don't think.
Okay.
Will the users of the premise be able to use the pool?
We don't have that advertised.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it wouldn't change in the future, but right now, that's not in my plans.
My turn for a quick question. What do I do? Okay. Hi, my name is Carol Bob. I live at 318 Race Avenue, and I'm right behind you. And how about pets?
I don't have any pets.
No, you're renters.
Yep, and I wouldn't have any pets either.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any follow-up questions from board members? Anything else you want to add?
Nothing further from me.
Okay. Well, I think, and the township has any position on this?
Our staff has reviewed the application, we've met with the Steffes, we took a look at the home. We feel that it meets all the regulations applicable, and we're not in opposition.
Okay, thank you. So I think at this point in time, the board could make a motion to close the record and testimony,
When do we make a
and then we can see if there's any public comment, and then we can talk about.
Or just to have the comment made
Sure.
now.
Yeah, that's fine. Does anybody want to make a public comment? Now's
It
your
would-
chance.
It would indicate either in favor or opposed to
Oh,
the application.
well, I'm not gonna be either in favor or opposed. This woman
Well,
obviously
then the
wants
comment's
to-
sort of irrelevant.
So
So
my-
is there anybody that has a comment that is either in favor or opposed to the application?
Okay, let me answer that better then. Thanks.
Okay,
And maybe you can help me when I tell you what my concern is, whether it is opposed or not.
you're certainly
I'm not
entitled to
sure.
express your concerns.
Yeah, so the concern is, there has been people who have rented that carriage house for a longer period of time, which seems to have worked, absolutely. And so I guess my wish would have been that that would have happened versus a short term, just because that makes a lot more movement in the neighborhood. And it's actually pretty, we all kind of know each other, it's a small little area. So that would be my concern, just that there's a lot of ins and outs coming and going, and it's not as quiet then.
So you're on Race Avenue and you're in the block between Marietta and Buchanan?
Correct.
Yes. So we're behind the pool.
And you're on the west side.
Yes, we're behind the pool.
No, we're on the east, would be the east side.
Would be
But
the
on the
side.
west
Okay,
side
You're
of the
facing
street.
Walnut.
Yes.
Yes.
We're on her east side of
Virginia.
the property, but we're on the west side of Race.
Okay.
We face Virginia.
Right.
You face Virginia and you face Walnut
Right.
coming into the, okay. What do you think?
Fine.
Yeah, good? Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, any other comments from anyone in the audience? Okay,
I guess the only aspect that would deserve maybe a little attention would be some conditions. And the pool use seems to be sort of off the table, from what I can tell.
I mean, if the applicant changes, if they change their mind in the future and they would want to, if you put a condition, they'd have to come back. I guess the question is, does the board feel like there's a need to put a condition on the use of the pool?
I don't
I guess not, I mean,
Yeah.
care. At most 4 people.
yeah, we've got.
I think the conditions would relate to, in my opinion, the number of residents that could, guests that could stay.
And is the on-site requirement part of the statute?
I believe it is, but we could certainly make that as an
I
express
I think that would be
condition.
good to have as a condition.
I can read the regulation, I have it here before me if
It's
you'd
okay,
like.
we're fine.
Okay.
But other than that,
I guess the one question is, when you think of the number of guests, is that adult guests? Because sometimes folks travel with children, and if so, do you want to say no more than 4 adults and children under 5, or, you know, additional children under 5 are allowed? Or do you not want to get that specific?
Well, the application says adults.
Right, so I guess
So,
that's
hold
what
up.
we leave it at.
Right.
So you could have a couple of teenage kids come as well with parents.
do you limit the total number
I
then or
don't,
not?
certainly children.
I think you would allow children to come
Yeah,
with
we
the
should allow young
adults.
children.
Well, sure, but I guess then
That's
you
the
limit
whole
the
point
total
of
number.
an Airbnb.
But that should have been on the application.
I mean, I
They say 2
think,
adult- they say
I
4
think there's an assumption that
Right.
children are allowed. I guess my question is, do you want to limit that in any way, or is that just not necessary? I mean, it's 4 adults, and if the adults have children, then the children can stay as well? And I guess that's a question. I don't know if the applicant has a comment on how you'd regulate that.
I don't, I'm looking at the regulations, I think it's silent, so.
But would you like to be able to have guests to bring
Certainly,
their
I mean,
children? Yeah.
I've brought my children.
Yeah, right.
to Airbnbs before
Okay, and to
too.
be fair, I mean, we're just going by the application.
Right.
And it says two adults in each bedroom.
Yes.
So but you're anticipating a family situation.
If someone
could
would wanna
be,
be their
yeah.
family, I
Yeah, that's why I'm
certainly
bringing it
wouldn't
up.
send them away.
You know,
Right.
sometimes you might say a total of 4 adults and no more than 4 children or something to put some limit on it, but
I think the space limits it.
It really
In the
does.
sense that it's not a
Well,
house,
2
a
adults per
6-bedroom
bedroom
house.
and, you know, no more than 3 children per bedroom, I don't know.
I think the space will limit it.
so just 4 adults?
I'm happy to amend the application if that's allowed on the record.
That's fine. I don't know if it's needed. I just want to be sure there's not confusion and you know what you can do. I mean, the reality of it is, absent a complaint, the zoning officer's not going to be monitoring what's happening here. So I think it's more in the situation, if something would come up, that the conditions are clear so the applicants know what they can do and what they can't do. And so if you're comfortable with the size of the space limiting it, and you limit it to
2 adults per bedroom,
2 adults per
Mhm.
bedroom, and
that's what the
and-
application's for.
and basically children, you know, if folks come with children, they're allowed, and that's just kind of the part of how it works,
I'm good with that.
okay? So no more than, do you wanna say 4 adults?
Correct, 2 bedrooms, yeah.
4 adults?
That consistent with the application.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously, you can't have more than 30 days at a time.
And that's
And I think it would be
regulation.
good, even though it's part of the ordinance and the short-term rental regulations, to indicate, based on the testimony, that one of the applicants would be there when it's rented. Um,
Mr. Yoder, just to get clarity on the 2 adults per bedroom, where did the board land with the children situation?
Of course, they're
Okay.
allowed.
Yeah, they're allowed,
Okay.
yeah.
Just, I'm making sure I'm writing down this.
Yeah, so,
I would limit the number of children, actually, I think
Can you
that,
do that?
Well, I think-
I don't know.
I think noise is an issue.
I mean, to
for the
me, if
neighbors.
somebody came with 4 adults and 12 children, that would
Yeah.
probably be a problem. So maybe 4 adults and 4 children, or 4 adults and 6 children. I'm not looking to.
Yeah,
make
I
it
think that's why I brought it up, I mean,
Right.
and that.
But I think
mean,
I think it does deserve.
Yeah.
A certain.
So what's the board inclined to do? Does the applicant have a suggestion on the number of children that you'd be comfortable
Four's
with?
fine. Four, yeah.
Four, that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a total of 8? Is that a total of 8 people?
Yeah.
That's correct.
So there
Yeah.
should be 8 beds.
As a maximum. And in a space this size, I doubt that would happen often.
Other conditions that the board could consider, again, most of these are already built in, but, they've identified, plenty of parking, so, you could say,
Maybe 4 unrelated vehicles, if you're gonna have 4, maximum 4 adults.
They have 6 available.
Right, and I'm thinking we have 4 adults, so we're gonna use maximum 4.
that makes some sense, I think that. The board has its standard conditions that it typically will impose, that any approval is subject to the testimony and evidence that was presented tonight. It's subject to all the requirements of the zoning ordinance,
A
and then
violation of any of the representations is a violation of the code, and these are all just
just the standard.
sort of boilerplate, you might
Yeah,
say.
yeah, and that they would have to get all of the permits. I'm not sure if there's an annual inspection for,
No, there is not
There's not.
currently. So they have to, every 2 years, they have to reapply.
okay. So I
Is that a
think,
condition, that reapplication? I don't know.
well, I guess the question,
It's in the ordinance.
yeah,
Okay.
It's part of the ordinance.
yes, sir.
Is it transferable? Let's say that they decide to sell the property, does that?
If they're
special-
within the 2 years, yes, a special exception runs with the property, but if it automatically expires every 2 years, then once that 2 years ends, the next owner would have to come back in.
And otherwise, I don't think there's anything peculiar about this that would restrict it to this owner. This is not, as long as somebody is willing to maintain the conditions and adhere to them.
Right.
And as a buyer, they would be.
Yeah, and the ordinance permits it, so if they got the approval, it's not owner-specific, it runs with the land. So I think, yeah. Oh,
I
yes,
have
sir.
another question. Out of curiosity again, in terms of the dynamics for this type of renting, because the property is unique, it's like 2 different buildings. Is there anything to consider, or are you planning on establishing or stipulating anything as for limits on the premises that people who are staying can stay within? Is that something to contemplate, or is not relevant at all?
I'm not sure your question.
Let's say, I know the property, so let's say, are they, people who are going to be staying, they have access to the driveway, and then to access the building where they're going to be staying, are there gonna be any limitations for them to say, well, these other areas you may not go to? Or like, they can practically enjoy the whole area?
I mean, yeah, they can enjoy the backyard, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, just being conscious of it and knowing how it works. So, because I'm right behind you, so then I will see your backyard, and then I will see the movement, I will see the people.
And honestly, and again, this is not relevant to this, but I have 3 children. We have birthday parties, I just don't want things to be confused with use of my land and my property. So we will continue to use it just as any other owner would. So just be mindful of that as well.
And I don't have any concerns, I'm just
Okay.
curious to learn so that I know how that works and what to expect to see.
Gotcha.
And likewise, on our side, I mean, basically, we're concerned about who's around the
The
property,
neighborhood.
the neighborhood, okay? Because we want to protect your children also. So
I
it's,
think if we're gonna get into that, maybe that's a statement that you can make. 'Cause I guess
well,
I
I
think
mean,
we're done with
she
questions.
made a statement, and I'm just
Okay.
rebutting the statement by saying,
But let me
we're
just say.
also
that
concerned
there's-
about safety in the neighborhood, and that's
Sir,
really what it's
excuse
coming
me.
down.
Sir, we don't make what's in the ordinance. The ordinance says that this is permitted.
And
If
we're
you
not
have a,
disputing that.
now just wait, if you have a beef with that, you go to the supervisors. This board is here to
So,
consider an application that is permitted. This is a permitted use. You may disagree with that, you may not like it,
I'm
but
not
that's not for
disputing
this
with that.
board.
I'm not disputing with that at all.
Okay, but at
They,
this point
they,
in time,
they fulfilled
whether,
all the zoning requirements, okay?
That's right.
I understand that, okay? All I'm just saying is there was a statement made about the usage of their property. And all we're concerned, or I'm concerned with, is not knowing people that are in my backyard and being seen, that, you know, they may stay in your yard, that's fine and great, but there also may be somebody that decides to explore because we don't know who anybody is.
I would think we
You're a
get-
guest.
I,
Okay, that's all I'm trying to say, okay? And
Okay.
we're
That's-
concerned with her children as much as,
We
you know,
understand your
right.
point.
Yeah.
we appreciate it.
Any further comments? Hearing none,
Yeah. So if the board's inclined to.
we're gonna move to grant.
So it would be,
Probably subject to the conditions as enumerated in the written, unless you have them all.
well, so it would be a motion to grant a special exception pursuant to 280-403I, subject to not more than 4 adults and 4 children.
Well, why don't we just make the motion then?
Yep.
I'll make
fine.
the motion.
Don't get close the record.
So, no further comments, no closing statements, so to speak. Hearing none, then I move that we close the record in the proceedings.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The record being so closed, I would move that the application for a special exception pursuant to section 280-403.1 of the Township Zoning Ordinance for a short-term rental at 1015 Marietta Avenue, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, be granted, subject to the conditions as enumerated by our solicitor, Mr. Yoder, as follows.
There would be no more than 4 adults and 4 children allowed to stay at the, I'll refer to it as the short-term rental at one time. One of the applicants will be present whenever the short-term rental unit is rented. No more than 4 additional vehicles associated with the short-term rentals will be allowed on the property, and then subject to the board's standard conditions, which I think we've outlined.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So granted.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. From one McCaskey graduate to another.
Thank you. I appreciate
Probably
that.
slightly different in terms of the graduating year.
Who's counting? Who is counting?
All right, so I'm gonna give these to you and keep them in file.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.
Oh, would you adjourn the meeting?
Oh, motion to adjourn?
Written decision.
Second.
If I could second, I would.
Thank you.